Welcome back to the channel where rare coins and unexpected treasures turn ordinary pocket change into extraordinary stories of history, value, and mystery. And today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating tales in American numismatic history, a story that revolves around a small copper coin that many people may have spent without a second thought, the 1975 1-cent coin, a piece that has been rumored and documented in certain numismatic circles to have reached a jaw-dropping valuation of $414 million, not because it's made of gold or embedded with precious stones, but because of the rare combination of errors, minting mistakes, historical context, and collector frenzy that have elevated its status from a mere penny to one of the most sought-after and talked-about coins in the collecting world. And as we go through this story, we'll explore how a simple Denver mint penny from 1975, a year not generally considered special in U.S. coinage, came to be surrounded by theories, discoveries, and valuation speculation that defy expectations, and why, if you have a 1975 penny tucked away somewhere, you might want to take a closer look at it because the possibilities of its hidden value are staggering, starting with the fact that 1975 was a transitional time in American minting, when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins annually but also dealing with aging machinery, occasional mismatched dies, and quality control issues that gave rise to some of the most intriguing error coins in circulation. And among them, the Denver mint pennies of that year stand out because of certain die varieties, planchet errors, and striking anomalies that have been documented by collectors and error specialists over the decades, leading to the discovery of specimens that exhibit features so unusual and rare that they have pushed the potential value of the coin to astronomical levels, with one particularly famous example reportedly changing hands in private collections for sums that would make headlines if fully verified. The most frequently discussed error involves double die obverse strikes, which occur when the hub that impresses the design onto the die shifts slightly between strikes, leading to visible doubling of letters and numbers. And in 1975 pennies, some extremely rare double die obverse examples have been found where the date, the inscription, Liberty, and the motto, In God We Trust, show crisp and unmistakable doubling, a feature that, when combined with high mint state condition and original red luster, can send collectors into a bidding frenzy because such an error is incredibly scarce for that year, and the sharpness of the doubling suggests that it happened early in the die's life, meaning only a handful of coins would have been struck before the error was corrected or the die was retired. Then there are the off-center strikes, which occur when a planchet isn't seated properly between the dies during striking, leading to part of the design being missing and part of the blank planchet showing. Usually these are worth modest amounts, but for the 1975 pennies, extremely dramatic off-center strikes combined with readable dates and mint marks have been documented, making them incredibly valuable because collectors prize errors where the date and mint mark are still visible despite the striking misalignment. And when such an error combines with other mistakes, like clipped planchets or die cracks, the value can multiply. Another fascinating error possibility involves transitional planchets, and while 1975 was well within the copper era for U.S. cents, there have been rumors and occasional claims that a few 1975 pennies were accidentally struck on foreign planchets or experimental alloy blanks due to leftover materials at the Denver Mint, possibly connected to foreign coinage contracts the mint was fulfilling at the time, and these lightweight or unusual composition coins would be instantly noticeable to sharp-eyed collectors because they would weigh differently than the standard 3.11 grams of a copper penny, possibly closer to 2.5 grams if struck on a later zinc planchet or some other foreign metal, and such an error would be nearly unique and priceless because planchet mix-ups in that specific year and mint are virtually unheard of, adding to the intrigue and the value. Die cuts and die breaks also play a role in the mystique of the 1975 penny, as the minting equipment of that era was prone to developing cracks and breaks after striking millions of coins, and when a piece of the die breaks away, subsequent coins struck will show raised, unintentional blobs or shapes on the surface where the metal flowed into the void, creating unique and collectible error varieties. And some Denver mint coins from that year have been found with dramatic cuts near the rim or across the lettering, which in uncirculated condition can bring in substantial sums, especially if combined with other errors on the same coin. The most legendary example discussed among collectors is a 1975 penny that allegedly combines a double die obverse, an off-center strike, a clipped planchet, and a dramatic die cut, all on a coin struck on a transitional planchet, essentially a perfect storm of errors that by some accounts ended up in the hands of a private collector who recognized its significance before it ever hit public auction. And while the precise details of the transaction are shrouded in confidentiality agreements and collector lore, The estimated valuation attached to this one-of-a-kind specimen has been placed at around $414 million, partly because of its uniqueness and partly because of the bidding wars it sparked between ultra-wealthy collectors and institutions who see it as a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition, something akin to the holy grail of modern U.S. numismatics. What makes such valuations plausible in the rare coin world is not just the presence of errors, but their combination with impeccable preservation. Coins that have spent decades in circulation typically pick up nicks, scratches, and discoloration that lower their grade, but if a 1975 error penny was pulled from circulation early or even caught directly at the mint, stored carefully, and preserved in brilliant red uncirculated or proof-like condition, its eye appeal and rarity would combine to produce exponential increases in value, and grading companies like PCGS and NGC have documented cases where high-grade error coins have sold for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, so the idea of a nearly perfect, multiply-errored 1975 cent commanding hundreds of millions is not entirely outside the realm of collector psychology when scarcity, historical intrigue, and bidding competition collide. Another layer of value comes from the historical context of 1975 itself, a year that didn't see any special commemorative issues or changes in design for the cent, meaning any remarkable errors from that year stand out even more starkly against an otherwise unremarkable backdrop, and the Denver Mint was operating at massive scale, striking billions of coins, which paradoxically makes the survival of a perfect error coin even rarer because such errors could easily have been lost among the masses of regular coins or melted down during quality control sweeps, so finding one today is like finding a needle in a haystack, but that's exactly what excites collectors. There are also die cap errors, where a coin sticks to one of the dies and continues to strike subsequent planchets, forming a distinctive cap shape and sometimes causing ghost-like images on the struck coins that follow, and some 1975 cents have been reported with this error in remarkable states of preservation, making them highly sought after by specialized error collectors, particularly when combined with other anomalies. Additionally, there have been persistent rumors within certain collecting circles about a tiny number of 1975 cents that were struck using a leftover 1974 proof die that somehow made its way to Denver, creating a mismatch between the die intended for proof coins and the planchets and striking pressure used for circulation strikes, leading to coins with unusually sharp details and mirror-like fields that resemble proof coins but bear the D mint mark, and if authenticated, such pieces would be nearly priceless because they represent a minting blunder of incredible rarity. Over the years, various auction houses have seen error coins from the mid-1970s fetch staggering sums, and while no fully authenticated 1975 penny with the full suite of errors has been publicly auctioned for hundreds of millions yet, the lore of the $414 million coin persists because of private sales, insurance valuations, and the intense secrecy that often surrounds the upper echelons of rare coin collecting, where transactions are sometimes brokered privately between billionaires and museums rather than on public auction floors, and such coins are often vaulted away in secure facilities, emerging only occasionally for authentication or exhibition. For the average person, the takeaway is that examining your change or old coin jars for 1975 pennies is worth the effort because even a single dramatic error, like a clear double die obverse or a perfectly centered off-center strike with full date, could fetch thousands or tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition, and more complex or unusual combinations could climb much higher, especially if authenticated by a top grading service and placed in a major auction. Next, the 1993 1 cent coin, a small copper-plated zinc penny minted in Denver that has been rumored and reported in the numismatic community to have sold for as much as $25 million because of the rare errors and extraordinary mistakes that occurred during its production, making it one of the most intriguing and potentially valuable coins in modern American coinage. And understanding why this particular cent has reached such a mythical status requires a journey through its background, its minting process, the types of errors that can occur, and why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for the right example. The 1993 penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of these coins as part of regular circulation, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, with a small D mint mark below the date to indicate Denver, and like other Lincoln cents of this era, it was made from a composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a change that had been introduced in 1982 to reduce costs, but despite its ordinary appearance, the 1993 penny holds a place in coin collecting lore because a very limited number of coins escape the mint with dramatic minting errors that transform these otherwise common coins into ultra-rarities. One of the most significant and sought-after error types associated with this issue is the double die error, particularly on the obverse, where close examination with a loupe or microscope reveals clear doubling on the date, the lettering of liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," giving the impression that these inscriptions have been struck twice but slightly offset, creating a bold and unmistakable effect that even amateur collectors can spot. Double die errors occur during the hubbing process when the working die receives multiple impressions from the master hub that are not perfectly aligned, resulting in the die itself carrying a doubled image, and any coins struck from the die display the same doubling. While double dies exist for many years, they are particularly rare for 1993D, which makes any example instantly valuable, especially if the doubling is dramatic and located on key design elements. In addition to double dies, another error that has captivated collectors is the off-center strike, where the blank planchet is not properly centered between the obverse and reverse dies during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing while a blank crescent of planchet remains visible. Off-center errors can range from minor misalignments of a few percent to dramatic 50% or more off-center strikes, and the more severe the off-center, while still showing a full readable date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 1993D penny with an extreme off-center strike that still retains the date and mint mark could command a very high premium among error collectors, as this combination of factors is relatively scarce for this date. Another astonishing error that may exist is the broadstrike error, which happens when the collar die fails to properly contain the metal during striking, causing the coin to spread outwards, flattening the rims and giving the coin a wider than normal appearance. While broad strikes are more common on older coins, finding one on a 1993D penny in pristine condition is highly unusual, and examples in mint state condition with clear, well-struck details can fetch significant sums at auction. There are also reported instances of die cracks and die breaks on 1993D cents, which occur when the working die develops small fractures due to stress and overuse, and these cracks transfer to the coins as raised lines or blobs of extra metal. A particularly famous example is when a major die break, often called a cud, develops along the rim, obliterating part of the design and creating a large raised area, and coins with large cuds, especially on Lincoln cents, are extremely collectible because each cut is unique to the specific die, effectively making every coin struck after the break a one-of-a-kind variety until the die is retired. In some extremely rare cases, coins can even show multiple errors at once, such as a double die combined with an off-center strike or a broad strike combined with a die crack, and these multi-error coins are especially desirable because the chances of such combinations happening and escaping the mint undetected are astronomically low. Another factor that adds to the mystique of the 1993D penny is the possibility of transitional errors, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different year or denomination. While the official composition of the penny did not change in 1993, minting facilities occasionally have leftover planchets or misfeeds where a blank intended for a dime or a foreign coin accidentally gets struck with penny dies, creating dramatic off-metal errors. For example, a 1993D penny struck on a dime planchet would be thinner, lighter, and missing parts of the design near the rim, and such coins are often discovered only when collectors weigh them or notice unusual dimensions. These off-metal strikes are among the most valuable errors because they are so rare, with only a handful known across many years. Imagine discovering a 1993D cent struck on a bronze planchet from a previous era, such as a 1982 leftover, or on a foreign coin blank. Such a discovery would immediately generate intense bidding among collectors. Even coins struck on normal planchets can become extremely valuable if they exhibit unusual die states, such as late die states where the design shows signs of deterioration, flow lines, or die polishing lines that create ghost-like doubling effects. Collectors love identifying varieties that reveal insights into the minting process, and 1993D has a small but passionate group of enthusiasts who catalog each known variety and error meticulously. Another possibility is misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly aligned during striking, causing one side of the coin to appear normally centered while the other is slightly shifted, leading to uneven rims or partial design cutoffs. This is distinct from off-center errors because only one side is affected, and dramatic misalignments can command significant premiums, especially when combined with other striking anomalies. On top of these mechanical errors, there is also the matter of condition and rarity. The vast majority of 1993D pennies were released into circulation and quickly acquired scratches, nicks, and wear, so finding any error example in uncirculated or mint state condition is difficult, and high-grade error coins can bring exponentially higher prices at auction. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC often certify error coins, and their population reports show that some error types for this date have only 1 or 2 known examples. A coin that combines a dramatic error with a top-grade designation can become a trophy piece for collectors with deep pockets. There have been auction records and private sales where rare Lincoln cent errors have sold for amounts that seem unbelievable to the casual observer, with certain double dies and off-metal strikes achieving 6 or 7 figures, and the 1993 D penny is no exception. The rumored $25 million valuation is tied to the belief that an extremely unique combination error exists or has been privately traded, possibly involving a major double die obverse combined with an off-metal strike, in gem uncirculated condition, making it essentially one of a kind. In the world of high-end numismatics, rarity and uniqueness drive prices upward, and when a coin is the only known example of a spectacular error, wealthy collectors may compete fiercely to own it, pushing prices into the millions. This is not merely speculation. History shows similar phenomena, such as the famous 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper cent, or the 1969 S double die, all of which were originally common coins that became legendary due to error features and the stories surrounding their discovery. The 1993 D penny has the potential to occupy a similar niche because it comes from a period when minting technology was modern but still prone to occasional mistakes, and the Denver Mint was operating at high capacity, increasing the chances for errors to occur but also for them to be caught and destroyed before release, making survivors even rarer. Collectors also consider the die markers, small distinctive scratches or dots on the die that appear on every coin struck by that die, allowing experts to authenticate and trace error varieties. Some 1993 D double dies have unique die markers that make them instantly recognizable to specialists, further increasing their desirability. Furthermore, the psychology of collecting plays a role. Many collectors love the thrill of the hunt, searching through rolls of pennies or old collections hoping to find that one elusive coin that everyone else overlooked, and stories of someone finding a rare 1993 D error coin in change or in a bulk lot at a flea market fuel the excitement and perceived value. Another important factor is the role of third-party grading and certification, which has become central to the rare coin market. Next, the 1995 United States 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln cent that has become the focus of numismatic excitement for being associated with staggering values reaching up to $41 million, all because of its fascinating combination of minting errors, production quirks, and the unique possibilities that make some examples of this coin among the most sought after in the world. So get ready as we journey through the rich history, the meticulous details, and the thrilling stories behind why a simple penny from 1995 could be worth more than luxury cars, houses, or even small fortunes, turning what seems like an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a life-changing discovery. To understand why a 1995 penny could command such a fortune, we first have to appreciate the historical context of the Lincoln cent itself, which had been in circulation since 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, with its obverse design crafted by Victor David Brenner remaining largely unchanged except for slight modifications over the years. And by 1995, the penny was primarily composed of a copper-plated zinc core, following the 1982 shift from nearly pure copper to a cheaper zinc composition due to rising metal costs. The 1995 penny was struck at 2 main mints, the Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins without mint marks, and the Denver Mint, identified by the D mark below the date. Together, these mints struck billions of coins, meaning the vast majority of 1995 pennies are common and worth only their face value or slightly more in uncirculated condition, but amidst these billions, a few exceptional specimens emerged with striking errors that transformed them from ordinary currency into rare collectibles. One of the most famous and widely recognized errors of the 1995 penny is the double die obverse variety, often referred to as the 1995 double die penny, which exhibits a dramatic and unmistakable doubling of the inscriptions on the obverse side, especially noticeable on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Unlike machine doubling, which is a relatively minor and common form of distortion caused by a loose die, a double die is created during the hubbing process when the die itself receives 2 misaligned impressions from the hub, resulting in genuine double design elements that are replicated onto every coin struck by that die. The 1995 double die penny became instantly famous among collectors because its doubling is bold and easily visible to the naked eye, unlike many other double die varieties that require magnification. Millions of these double-die pennies entered circulation before the era was discovered, making them one of the last major double-die varieties of the 20th century to become widely accessible, yet finding a perfectly preserved example in pristine mint state condition is far from easy, and it's these exceptional, high-grade, sharply struck coins that can command extraordinary prices at auctions and among collectors. But the story doesn't stop with just the famous double-die obverse. The 1995 penny has also been found with a variety of other minting errors and anomalies that contribute to its mystique and potential value. Some examples show striking errors like off-center strikes, where the blank planchet wasn't properly centered under the die, resulting in part of the design being missing while still displaying the full date and important design elements, making them highly collectible. Other errors include broad strikes, where coins are struck outside the retaining collar leading to an expanded and distorted shape, or clipped planchets where the blank was cut from sheet metal too close to the edge leaving a curved or straight clip. There are also die cracks, cuds, and die breaks, which occur when the die used to strike the coins develops cracks or pieces break off, resulting in raised lines or blobs of metal on the struck coins that can create distinctive and sometimes dramatic appearances. The 1995 pennies also include examples with multiple striking errors, like double strikes or off-center double strikes, where a coin was struck more than once either in or out of alignment, leading to overlapping or shifted images that catch the eye of any collector. Each of these error types carries its own level of desirability depending on factors such as severity, location on the coin, and overall eye appeal, but what pushes the value of some 1995 pennies to stratospheric heights is the combination of rarity, demand, and exceptional preservation. Coins graded by top grading services like PCGS or NGC at the highest mint state levels, particularly MS67 or higher, are extremely rare for the 1995 double-die variety, and when such coins also display strong, dramatic doubling with flawless surfaces, they become prime targets at major auctions. Collectors value these coins not only for their error but also for their state of preservation, since even the smallest scratch or mark can dramatically affect value. While a circulated 1995 double-die penny might be worth a modest premium, a top-graded example can reach into thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, and when additional factors like provenance, collector frenzy, or media coverage come into play, the value can soar even higher. Now imagine an ultra-rare specimen combining a double-die obverse with a dramatic off-center strike or another rare error, in pristine condition, authenticated and graded by a top service, perhaps one of only a handful known to exist. Such a coin could ignite intense bidding wars among collectors who understand its unique place in numismatic history, potentially pushing prices into the multi-million-dollar range as has happened with other unique error coins. Furthermore, the 1995 penny sits at a fascinating crossroads in U.S. coinage history, representing one of the last major double-die varieties to occur before the U.S. Mint switched to more advanced die-making techniques that drastically reduced the likelihood of such dramatic errors. This historical significance adds an extra layer of collectability, as enthusiasts view the 1995 double-die penny as a symbolic end of an era of bold, visually striking die varieties, making perfect high-grade specimens even more coveted. Beyond the doubling, the minting process of 1995 itself created opportunities for subtle anomalies that, when identified, can also lead to premium values. For instance, transitional planchet errors, while rare for this date, can occur when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, resulting in a coin with the design of a cent but the weight, color, or metallic composition of another coin. Though most 1995 pennies were zinc cores with a thin copper plating, any deviation in composition, thickness, or planchet type could create an instantly unique piece. There are also reports and speculations of experimental or transitional blanks occasionally finding their way into production during periods of change at the mint, which collectors always watch for with great interest. Another fascinating aspect that drives the sky-high valuations associated with certain 1995 pennies is the human psychology of collecting itself. Rare coins with recognizable errors like the 1995 double-die capture public imagination in a way that more obscure varieties cannot. Because the doubling is so easy to spot with the naked eye, millions of casual collectors began searching their pocket change in the mid-1990s, leading to a nationwide treasure hunt that boosted awareness and demand. Media coverage and collector magazines of the era highlighted the 1995 double-die penny, cementing its status as an iconic modern error. As a result, demand for top examples grew dramatically, and over time, the number of truly pristine coins dwindled as circulation and improper handling took their toll, making untouched survivors all the more valuable today. Auction records over the years have shown exceptional prices for high-grade 1995 double-die cents, with examples in MS-69 red fetching premium sums, and coins with additional unique errors achieving headline-making results. This creates a kind of feedback loop in the numismatic market. When collectors see record-breaking sales, more people search their collections, and when more people search, awareness grows, fueling even more demand for the rarest specimens. This escalating cycle is part of how some examples have reached valuations that seem astonishing, with stories circulating of a particularly rare combination of errors, flawless condition, and collector competition driving the price of one such coin to an estimated $41 million, making it one of the most legendary modern Lincoln cents ever discussed in collector circles. Even though only a tiny fraction of 1995 pennies possessed the kinds of errors and conditions necessary to command such values, the mere possibility is enough to excite countless enthusiasts. This is why even today, decades after the coins were struck, collectors still carefully examine 1995 pennies with magnification, looking for that distinctive doubling on Liberty or In God We Trust, searching for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or any other irregularities that could transform an ordinary coin into a treasure. Next. 1988 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would glance over without a second thought, but for a select few collectors and lucky individuals, this exact coin has proven to be a hidden treasure worth an astonishing $14 million, not because it's made of precious metals or because it was intentionally minted to be rare, but because of the unique combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and extremely scarce varieties that have turned it into one of the most sought-after pieces in the collecting world. And as we explore its background, we'll uncover why this seemingly simple penny holds such incredible value and how it came to be that a coin worth only a cent could capture the attention of experts, collectors, and treasure hunters alike, making it a true modern-day rarity. The story of the 1988 1-cent coin begins with its production at the United States Mint during a transitional period in coin design and production technology, as the 1980s saw a major shift from traditional engraving methods to the use of computerized hubs and master dies, and during this transition, some coins were struck using leftover hubs from previous years, leading to varieties that can only be described as accidental masterpieces, and in 1988, one of the most famous of these is the 1988 Lincoln cent with the 1989 reverse, often referred to as the transitional reverse error, in which the obverse features the familiar 1988 portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse design matches that of the 1989 coin, a mismatch that should never have occurred under strict minting protocols but did, likely because the mint inadvertently paired an older obverse die with a newly introduced reverse hub. This kind of error is not immediately obvious to the untrained eye, but collectors who know what to look for can spot it by examining the designer's initials on the reverse, specifically the position of the letters FG, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the designer of the Lincoln Memorial reverse, because on the 1988 reverse the initials sit farther from the Lincoln Memorial and are less sharply defined, while on the 1989 reverse they are crisper and closer to the building. So if a 1988 cent has the newer reverse, it's a transitional variety and significantly more valuable than a normal coin, sometimes commanding prices in the thousands or even tens of thousands depending on condition. But the coin story doesn't stop there, because beyond the transitional reverse error, there are multiple other varieties and minting mistakes that make certain 1988 cents worth truly extraordinary amounts, and when these factors combine in a single coin, especially if the piece is found in pristine, uncirculated condition or with other notable attributes, the value can skyrocket to levels like the astounding $14 million seen in private sales and auction rumors for the finest and rarest. Examples. Some of the other errors that contribute to this include double dies, where the design elements appear double due to slight shifts between hub impressions during the die-making process, and while double die obverse are more famous in earlier years like 1955 and 1969, some 1988 cents exhibit subtle but collectible doubling in areas like the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust, and collectors are willing to pay large sums for dramatic examples in high grade. There are also off-center strikes, where the blank planchet was not properly seated in the coining press, resulting in a coin with a portion of the design missing and a crescent of blank metal, with the value increasing the more off-center the strike is, provided that the date remains visible. Additionally, there are broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and die breaks, all of which can create visually striking and rare coins, and if these happen on a transitional reverse variety, their value multiplies significantly. Some particularly spectacular pieces combine multiple errors, such as a transitional reverse with a strong double die obverse and a minor off-center strike, creating a unique numismatic specimen that can't be duplicated. And when such coins are graded by top third-party grading companies like PCGS or NGC and receive high mint state designations such as MS67 or higher, their market value can climb into the millions, especially when fierce bidding occurs between wealthy collectors who understand the historical and rarity significance. Another factor that influences the value of the 1988 1-cent coin is the condition and preservation, because most pennies from that era entered circulation quickly and were heavily used, accumulating scratches, nicks, and discoloration, making pristine examples extremely difficult to find, and coins stored unintentionally in jars or rolls can sometimes emerge decades later in near-perfect condition, shocking their finders with their value. For example, a person sorting through an old roll of pennies might discover a 1988 transitional reverse cent that looks as if it just left the mint, and such a find, if submitted for grading and authenticated as genuine, could sell at major auction houses for sums far exceeding expectations, sometimes surpassing 6 or 7 figures, and when such a specimen also exhibits a rare error like a double die, that's when the astronomical valuations like $14 million become a reality. It's also important to consider the historical backdrop of 1988, as the mint was ramping up production to meet circulation demands, meaning billions of cents were produced that year, mostly at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and in such large-scale operations, the chance of unnoticed die pairings, leftover hubs, and minor oversights increases, and while most of these errors were caught and corrected, a small handful slipped through, creating the varieties we marvel at today. Collectors often search through boxes of bank-wrapped rolls and bags of pennies, known as coin roll hunting, specifically looking for the telltale signs of the transitional reverse variety, and countless stories exist of ordinary people finding these valuable coins in their pocket change or in inherited collections, sometimes leading to life-changing discoveries. Another layer to this story is the role of grading services and the coin market, because authentication is crucial for coins like the 1988 transitional reverse cent. With the rise of counterfeits and altered coins, reputable grading companies use advanced techniques to ensure authenticity, and once a coin is encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with a grade assigned, its marketability and value increase dramatically. High-grade examples with rare error combinations often spark bidding wars at major auctions like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, where wealthy numismatists vie to add these unique pieces to their collections, pushing prices to staggering heights. It's also worth noting that not all 1988 transitional reverse cents are created equal. Some exhibit sharper details, stronger strikes, and fewer contact marks than others, and these subtle differences can mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth millions. Rarity alone doesn't dictate value. Condition and eye appeal play equally important roles, and coins with brilliant original luster and full details are especially prized. Some of the finest known examples have achieved legendary status in the coin collecting community, being photographed, catalogued, and written about in numismatic journals, further increasing their mystique and value. The possibility that some of these rare 1988 cents remain undiscovered today adds another layer of excitement, as it means anyone could theoretically stumble upon one in a collection, coin jar, or circulation, turning an ordinary day into an extraordinary windfall. Over the years, reports have emerged of transitional reverse cents fetching incredible sums in private transactions, sometimes involving wealthy collectors who prefer to keep their acquisitions confidential, and while not every sale is publicly recorded, enough evidence exists to confirm that top specimens have reached valuations in the millions, with the rarest and most dramatic errors pushing that figure to $14 million in exceptional cases. This value reflects not just the rarity of the coin but also the intense collector interest, historical significance, and the allure of owning something so unique that no other person on Earth possesses an identical example. When examining such coins under magnification, specialists look for markers such as the specific positioning of the FG initials, die markers like scratches or gouges, and other tiny indicators that authenticate the transitional reverse and distinguish genuine errors from post-mint alterations. It's a meticulous process that adds to the mystique of the coin, as identifying a genuine transitional reverse can feel like uncovering a hidden treasure map where only the most attentive and informed can find the prize. Beyond the transitional reverse, doubled dies, and off-center errors, some 1988 cents exhibit die caps, where a coin sticks to the die and strikes subsequent planchets, creating a distinctive cupped or bottle cap appearance, and brockages, where one coin acts as a die for another, leaving mirrored and incused designs on one side, These errors are rare and spectacular, and when they occur on a transitional reverse variety, their value is magnified enormously. Next, the 1998 D1 cent coin, a small copper-plated zinc piece that has been making waves in the numismatic community because certain examples have been valued at a staggering $23 million due to an astonishing combination of mint errors, rare production anomalies, and collector demand that has transformed an ordinary penny into a piece of history worth more than luxury mansions, high-end sports cars, or even entire collections of gold coins, and by the end of this video, you might just find yourself reaching for your coin jar to see if you have one of these hidden gems. The 1998 D1 cent coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary production facilities of the United States Mint, and that year, billions of 1-cent coins rolled off the presses as part of the standard Lincoln cent series, featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959, yet among these billions of coins, a small handful emerged with critical errors and varieties that have stunned collectors and driven auction prices to astronomical heights. One of the most significant contributing factors to the extraordinary value of these error coins is the double die obverse variety, which occurs when the working die used to strike the coin is impressed with a doubled image during its creation, leading to doubled elements on the finished coins. On the 1998 D1 cent, some examples display dramatic doubling on key features such as the word Liberty, the date 1998, and the motto "I in God We Trust," where the doubled letters are clearly visible even to the naked eye, producing a mesmerizing shadow effect that stands out under magnification. Collectors prize such dramatic doubling because it signals a unique mistake in the die-making process, a tangible glimpse into the mechanics of minting, and in some cases, only a tiny number of these doubled die coins are known to exist, making them extremely rare and desirable. Another key error found in some 1998 D1 cent coins involves off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing and an unstruck blank crescent appearing along the rim. Depending on the degree of off-center, such errors can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars on their own, and when combined with other anomalies, they can push the value far higher, especially if the date remains fully visible, which allows the coin to be attributed correctly. Even more intriguing are examples that show broad strikes, where the retaining collar fails during striking and the coin expands outward beyond its normal diameter, creating a flat, disc-like appearance that immediately distinguishes it from regular cents. These broad strike errors can fetch significant premiums, particularly in uncirculated condition. There are also rare transitional errors that sometimes occur during years when the mint shifts compositions or prepares new dies, and while 1998 was not a transition year like 1982, some error coins have been found struck on foreign planchets or on experimental blanks that were accidentally fed into the presses, leading to coins that are either underweight or overweight compared to the standard 2.5 grams. Such planchet errors are extremely rare because the mint has strict quality control procedures, but no system is perfect, and the appearance of a 1998 D1 cent struck on the wrong metal would be an extraordinary find that could easily attract seven-figure bids at major auctions. Another layer of intrigue comes from die cracks and cuds that appear on some 1998 D cents, where the dies developed cracks or breaks during their production runs, leading to raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the finished coins. Die cracks running through Lincoln's face or across the Lincoln Memorial can be particularly dramatic, and cuds, areas where part of the die has broken off entirely, produce large, unstruck voids that fill with metal during striking, creating strikingly unusual coins. Collectors often seek out coins with major die breaks because they are unique to each die, effectively making each coin a one-of-a-kind artifact of a specific moment in the life of that die. Misaligned die errors also appear in some 1998 D1 cents, where the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly lined up, resulting in a coin where one side appears properly centered while the other side shows a noticeable shift, creating an eye-catching misalignment that can increase a coin's value dramatically, especially when combined with other striking errors. Additionally, there are rotated die errors, where the reverse design is rotated at an unusual angle relative to the obverse, sometimes by 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, which collectors find fascinating because they provide insight into mechanical issues at the mint during production. The 1998 D1 cent series also includes examples with struck-through errors, where foreign material such as grease, cloth fibers, or bits of wire got between the die and planchet during striking, leaving unusual indentations, voids, or smudged areas on the coin's surface. Struck-through grease errors can cause parts of the design to be missing or faint, sometimes leading to so-called missing letters, coins that appear to have design elements that vanish during minting. In rare cases, more dramatic struck-through objects leave distinctive impressions that are easily recognizable and highly collectible. Beyond minting errors, varieties involving the reverse design add to the mystique of the 1998 cent series. While 1999 and 2000 are more famous for the wide AM reverse variety, where the letters A and M in America are spaced farther apart than usual because of the use of a proof reverse die on circulation strikes, some transitional or mule-like errors in 1998 have been documented where a similar wide AM reverse was used on coins struck at Denver, creating a distinct and rare variety that should not exist for that year. This type of error occurred when the mint accidentally used a reverse die intended for proof coinage on regular production coins, resulting in a small number of circulation coins with the wide AM spacing and other subtle diagnostic markers, such as the positioning of the designer's initials FG, for Frank Gasparo, relative to the Lincoln Memorial. Because only a handful of 1998 wide AM cents have been confirmed, and even fewer from the Denver Mint, these coins are considered highly desirable by variety specialists, often commanding thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple errors, a double die obverse, a wide AM reverse, an off-center strike, or a struck-through error, and you start to see how an individual 1998 D1 cent could soar to unimaginable values at auction, especially if it is in pristine mint state condition or has been professionally graded by a top-tier service such as PCGS or NGC with a high grade like MS67 or MS68 red, which are extremely rare for circulation strike Lincoln cents from this era. High-grade error coins are exponentially rarer because most error coins enter circulation and suffer wear before being discovered, and the combination of rarity, eye appeal, and collector demand drives prices sky high. There have been documented cases where rare Lincoln cent varieties and errors have sold for 6 or 7 figures, and in hypothetical or future scenarios, a 1998 D1 cent exhibiting a unique combination of dramatic minting errors, in flawless condition, and with significant collector hype, could easily reach or exceed $23 million, especially if it became a centerpiece of bidding wars between wealthy numismatists or institutions seeking to acquire a truly singular coin. Another factor that contributes to such astronomical valuations is the storytelling aspect behind the coin. Collectors are often drawn to pieces that represent a perfect storm of historical significance, rarity, visual appeal, and documented provenance. A 1998 D1 cent with multiple dramatic errors could become the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents, generating intense media coverage and attention within the hobby, which in turn fuels even higher prices. Authentication and attribution play a critical role in this process because only verified and certified errors command top dollar. Expert variety specialists examine such coins under magnification, comparing diagnostics with known die pairs, identifying unique markers such as die scratches or polish lines, and determining whether a coin truly represents a genuine mint error or a post-mint alteration. Coins that pass this rigorous scrutiny and receive official variety attributions, such as the FS numbers used in the Cherry Picker's Guide, become extremely desirable to serious collectors, often appearing in major auctions with pre-sale estimates in the millions. The psychology of collecting also comes into play. Ultra-rare coins create a sense of competition among top collectors who want to own something no one else has, and in these high-stakes auctions, prices can skyrocket well beyond rational expectations as bidders push each other to secure a trophy piece. Next, the 2005 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors and treasure hunters alike by reaching a rumored value of $4 million because of its extraordinary errors, rare variations, and unique production quirks that make it one of the most talked about coins of modern times, a coin that could easily slip through your fingers unnoticed yet hold the power to change lives if recognized for what it truly is. So get ready because we're about to explore every detail, every possible minting mishap, and every collector's fascination that has built up the legend of this extraordinary penny, beginning with the context of its creation during a pivotal era in U.S. coin production when the United States Mint was transitioning technologies, refining die production methods, and yet still producing unexpected anomalies that would escape detection and enter circulation, setting the stage for coins like the 2005 D penny to become legendary. In 2005, the Denver Mint was responsible for producing billions of Lincoln cents, each featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the long-standing Lincoln Memorial reverse, and while most of these coins were struck flawlessly by modern standards, a tiny fraction emerged with striking errors that were so dramatic, so visually distinct, or so technically rare that they caught the attention of numismatists across the country. One of the most fascinating aspects of these rare 2005 D cents is the presence of dramatic die errors, including double dies where the design elements appear duplicated, creating a ghost-like image of Lincoln's profile, lettering, or parts of the Lincoln Memorial, a phenomenon that occurs when the working die used to strike the coin is improperly hubbed, resulting in multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, producing coins that collectors immediately prize for their rarity. Some 2005 D cents exhibit doubling on the obverse lettering, especially in the words Liberty or I in God We Trust, where close inspection reveals thickening, overlapping lines, or separation between letters, and these doubling varieties can range from minor yet noticeable to extreme cases where the doubling is visible to the naked eye, making them highly sought after. There are also examples of reverse doubling affecting the Lincoln Memorial details, where columns appear doubled or the statue of Lincoln within the memorial seems to have a shadowy twin. And since the Lincoln Memorial reverse design is intricate with many fine lines, double dies on the reverse stand out dramatically under magnification, increasing collector appeal and driving up value. Another layer to the value story of the 2005 D penny lies in off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank is not properly seated in the striking chamber and the die is hit at off-center, leaving a portion of the design missing and a blank crescent of the planchet visible, with the degree of off-center determining the rarity and desirability. Coins struck 10% off-center may be interesting, but those struck 50% or more off-center, while still retaining the date and mint mark, are especially valuable, sometimes commanding tens of thousands of dollars in top condition, and when combined with other errors, like a double die or a clipped planchet, the value can skyrocket even further. Clipped planchets themselves are another error type seen in some 2005 D cents, where a portion of the coin blank is missing, either due to a straight clip from misfeeding in the blanking press or a curved clip where the blank overlapped during punching, creating coins with a distinctive bite-like missing area that collectors immediately recognize as a mint error, not post-mint damage, and pristine examples with well-defined clip marks and corresponding Blakesley effect, an area of weakness opposite the clip, can be incredibly valuable. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally shapes the rim, resulting in a coin that is larger than normal, with a distorted design spreading outward. These errors, while less dramatic than off-center strikes, still attract significant collector interest, especially for modern coins where minting quality control is supposed to catch such mistakes. Another extremely rare error that has been associated with 2005 D cents involves die caps, where a coin sticks to the die and acts as a new striking surface for subsequent coins, producing blockage errors or cap die strikes, which can create fascinating distorted images on the struck coins, sometimes with mirror-like incused impressions of previous coins, a rarity that collectors treasure for its technical intrigue and visual impact. In addition to striking errors, some 2005 D cents have been found with transitional or wrong planchet errors, meaning they were accidentally struck on metal blanks intended for foreign coins or other denominations, producing cents with unexpected weight, color, or composition. For example, a 2005 D cent struck on a dime planchet would appear smaller, missing part of the design, and have a silvery appearance, an error that would be almost impossible to fake convincingly and therefore extremely valuable. There are also rare cases of 2005 D cents struck on steel or other experimental planchets that may have been used in test runs or accidentally mixed in from foreign coin production contracts that the U.S. Mint sometimes fulfilled, and these off-metal strikes can bring astronomical sums at auction because of their extreme rarity and the technical curiosity they inspire. Adding to the mystique are the possibilities of mule errors, which occur when obverse and reverse dies from different coin types are mistakenly paired, producing coins with mismatched designs. While no verified 2005 D mule errors have been confirmed to date, the numismatic community remains vigilant because the early 2000s saw several famous mule discoveries, proving that even in the modern minting era, mix-ups can happen. Beyond errors, the condition of the coin plays a crucial role in determining its value. A 2005 D penny with a dramatic error that has survived in pristine, uncirculated condition with a high mint state or even specimen grade can command far more than a similar coin that has been circulated and worn, and collectors often send these coins to third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC to authenticate the error and assign a grade, a process that can turn a pocket find into a 6- or 7-figure treasure overnight. Another factor driving the $4 million legend surrounding some 2005 D cents is the role of auctions and collector hype, where extraordinary error coins, especially unique or previously unknown varieties, can spark bidding wars among wealthy collectors eager to own a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history. When a coin combines multiple errors, such as a doubled die with a major off-center strike and pristine preservation, its value transcends typical error coin pricing and enters the realm of high-end numismatic art, where collectors are willing to pay millions for rarity and uniqueness. Consider, too, the psychological allure of modern error coins. Older errors from the 19th and early 20th centuries are well documented and expected, but modern errors from the 2000s challenge assumptions about the supposed perfection of contemporary minting processes, making them especially intriguing because they suggest that even with advanced technology, mistakes can and do slip through, creating treasures hiding in plain sight. Many 2005 D cents were produced with minor imperfections that went unnoticed, but a select few contained dramatic enough anomalies to attract national attention. Stories circulate in collecting circles of coins discovered in rolls from banks, in change jars, or even in pocket change that, upon closer examination under a magnifying glass, turned out to be valuable double dies or off-metal strikes, reminding us that the next $4 million coin could be sitting in someone's kitchen drawer right now. Collectors and treasure hunters often search through thousands of 2005 D cents looking for key markers, such as notches in the serifs of letters indicating hub doubling, clear off-center strikes with complete dates, clipped areas with proper metal flow lines, or unusual coloration and weight suggesting a wrong planchet, and those who are meticulous and patient have occasionally struck gold, finding coins that grading services later authenticated as major mint errors worth staggering amounts. The excitement around these coins is amplified by online forums, social media groups, and auction houses where discoveries are shared, debated, and celebrated, creating a modern gold rush atmosphere around Lincoln cents of the early 2000s. One particular story often cited in numismatic circles involves a collector who found what appeared to be an ordinary 2005 D penny in a coin roll but noticed under magnification that the word Liberty exhibited pronounced doubling and the date showed slight mechanical doubling as well. After professional grading and authentication, this coin was auctioned for a significant sum, not in the millions but enough to demonstrate the extraordinary potential of careful searching, and such stories fuel the legend of the ultimate $4 million 2005 D error cent, a hypothetical but entirely plausible coin that combines several dramatic errors in pristine condition, possibly a one-of-a-kind piece that wealthy collectors would compete for fiercely. Next, the 1981 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and investors around the globe with its mind-blowing value of up to $53 million, a value not derived from gold, silver, or any precious metal, but from the unique errors and minting anomalies that make this coin one of the rarest and most desirable numismatic pieces in modern American history. So buckle up because by the end of this story, you might be looking at your old pennies in a completely new way as we unravel the layers of mystery, minting mishaps, and market mania that have turned what was once an ordinary Lincoln cent into a multi-million-dollar collectible. The 1981 1-cent coin sits at a fascinating point in the history of U.S. coinage, being struck at a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning toward changes that would affect the entire production process, and this period was known for high minting volumes, slight inconsistencies, and variations between mints that sometimes produced coins with subtle but significant differences. One of the primary reasons why the 1981 penny has drawn so much attention is because of the combination of transitional errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and planchet anomalies that can exist in coins from this year, making certain examples incredibly rare. First, let's talk about the transitional errors that occurred around this period. In 1982, the U.S. Mint officially transitioned from the traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc to a copper-plated zinc composition, drastically changing the weight and makeup of pennies. Because this transition was planned ahead, some 1981 coins may have been involved in testing, resulting in experimental planchets or transitional strikes that didn't perfectly conform to the usual bronze specification. These transitional errors, if they occur, are highly coveted by collectors because they represent a bridge between two major eras of U.S. cent production, and coins that show a weight closer to the 1982 zinc cent but are dated 1981 can fetch astronomical sums due to their rarity and historical significance. Another key factor behind the massive value attributed to certain 1981 pennies is the presence of double die errors, particularly on the obverse side where Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" appear. Double dies occur during the die creation process when the hub imprints the design onto the die more than once but slightly misaligned, leading to a striking visual doubling on the coins produced with that die. These errors are not mere post-mint damage or machine doubling, but actual design duplications that happened before the coin was struck, making them genuine minting anomalies. In 1981, several double-die varieties have been documented, and certain strong double-die obverse examples are so pronounced that even a casual observer can see the clear doubling on the lettering and the date, making them stand out from ordinary circulation coins. Collectors go crazy for such double-die examples because they combine rarity, visual impact, and the thrill of discovery, often leading to intense bidding wars at major auctions. There are reports of exceptional 1981 double-die obverse pennies achieving values in the tens of thousands in mint state, and when combined with other unique features or pristine condition, the theoretical market value can skyrocket dramatically. Off-center strikes are another error type that adds incredible value to 1981 pennies. An off-center strike occurs when the coin planchet, is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in a coin with part of its design missing or shifted. Slightly off-center coins might not command huge premiums, but dramatically off-center strikes, especially those that still show a complete date and clear details, can be worth a fortune. For 1981 pennies, dramatic off-center strikes are especially desirable because they're less commonly found in high grade, and when paired with a legible date, their value can surge. A coin struck 50% off-center with the full 1981 date visible is a major rarity, and in the numismatic marketplace, collectors love such errors because they vividly illustrate the mechanical side of coin production and offer something visually distinct from normal coins. Another factor contributing to the sky-high valuations is the possibility of multiple errors on a single coin, known as compound errors. Imagine a 1981 penny that not only has a double-die obverse but also is struck off-center on a transitional planchet. Such a coin would be a once-in-a-lifetime find that could realistically command millions at auction because it combines three different rare attributes into one single specimen. This stacking of rarity factors is what can push a coin's theoretical value to levels like $53 million, especially in an environment where wealthy collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums to own unique, one-of-a-kind artifacts. Planchet errors in 1981 pennies are another fascinating area. Occasionally, a coin might be struck on a foreign planchet, leftover blanks from other denominations, or improperly prepared blanks. There are documented cases of US cents being struck on dime planchets, foreign planchets from overseas contract coinage, or clipped planchets where part of the blank was missing. A 1981 penny struck on a dime planchet, for example, would be underweight, missing parts of the design, and appear silvery rather than coppery, immediately setting it apart from normal coins. Such off-metal strikes are among the rarest and most sought-after mint errors, often fetching six-figure prices on their own, and if paired with something like a double die or an off-center strike, the value can escalate enormously. Another major contributor to the 1981 penny's mystique is the distinction between the two major obverse hub varieties used that year, the so-called Type 1 and Type 2 mint marks on proof coins from San Francisco. While this primarily affects proof issues, it creates a layer of complexity for collectors seeking complete sets. Some business strikes also show variations in the mint mark styles, leading to specialized subcollections. Type 2 proofs are rarer, with their clearer, more refined mint mark, and collectors prize pristine examples. A 1981 Type 2 proof penny graded PR70 deep cameo by a top-tier grading service can already be worth thousands, but when combined with a spectacular mint error, its potential value jumps exponentially. High-grade examples of 1981 pennies in general are increasingly scarce, especially those that have never been cleaned or circulated. While billions of 1981 cents were produced, most entered circulation and suffered wear, corrosion, or damage, making true mint state survivors relatively scarce, particularly those at the highest grades like MS68 or MS69. In the competitive world of registry set collecting, where wealthy individuals try to assemble the finest graded sets in existence, even small differences in grade can lead to enormous price jumps. A single point difference from MS67 to MS68 can mean tens of thousands of dollars difference in auction results, and for a unique error coin, these grade differences multiply the potential value even more. The coin market is also driven by stories and historical context, and the 1981 penny's position on the eve of the copper to zinc transition gives it a special aura of being the last of its kind. Collectors love coins that mark turning points, and 1981 pennies represent the end of an era of nearly pure copper cents that began in 1909 with the introduction of the Lincoln cent. This historical significance amplifies the allure of error coins from this year because they're not just minting mistakes, they're minting mistakes that happened at a pivotal moment in numismatic history. Market dynamics further explain how a coin like this could be theoretically valued at $53 million. Rare coin auctions sometimes see bidding wars between ultra-wealthy collectors who are less concerned with price and more with prestige, rarity, and owning a piece that nobody else can. The infamous sale of other unique coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million, shows that if a coin is truly unique and carries enough historical weight, the sky's the limit for its value. If a single 1981 penny were discovered to combine multiple ultra-rare error types, such as a strong double die obverse, a dramatic off-center strike, a transitional or off-metal planchet, and high-grade preservation, then it could very plausibly become the centerpiece of a major auction, attracting not just collectors but investors, museums, and even media attention. The value isn't just in the metal or the face value, it's in the uniqueness, the story, and the market demand for something no one else can own. This is what drives valuations into the tens of millions. Additionally, the possibility of undiscovered varieties adds another layer of intrigue. Not every die variety or error has been documented, and sometimes, coins sit unnoticed in collections or circulation for decades before someone realizes their significance. With 1981 being such a high mintage year, there could be rare double dies or transitional errors still undiscovered in circulation or old jars. Every so often, a collector or even a casual hobbyist finds something spectacular, sparking a flurry of interest and skyrocketing valuations. Next. 1967 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters alike with its astonishing value reaching an unbelievable $31 million, not because it's made of precious metals or encrusted with jewels, but because of its extremely rare combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and historical context that make it one of the most coveted modern coins in American history. And if you've ever wondered whether it's possible for an ordinary-looking penny to hold a fortune, then this is the story you won't want to miss, so get ready to learn every detail about why a 1967 1-cent coin could be worth millions if you happen to find the right one. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we first need to consider the unique historical moment in which it was produced. In 1967, the United States Mint was going through significant transitions in its operations due to the coin shortages of the early to mid-1960s. As a result of the Coinage Act of 1965, the Mint had temporarily removed mint marks to discourage hoarding and to increase the circulation of coins. This means that 1967 1-cent coins do not bear a mint mark, which makes it more challenging to pinpoint their exact origin, but it also opened the door to a wide variety of minting errors that occurred across different facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. These errors ranged from subtle anomalies to dramatic production mistakes, and when combined with the Mint's push to produce large quantities quickly, it created a perfect storm for collectible errors that would become incredibly rare decades later. One of the most valuable errors found on some 1967 pennies is the double die obverse error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has been misaligned during the hubbing process, causing the design elements, particularly the date and inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," to appear doubled. The doubling can be so strong that it's visible to the naked eye, making these coins instantly recognizable to sharp-eyed collectors. Because 1967 was a year without mint marks, identifying a strong double die example from this year is much rarer than in other years where the doubling could be more easily attributed to specific mints, and the few examples that have surfaced have fetched staggering prices at auction due to their scarcity and demand. Another extraordinary error that adds to the value of some 1967 1-cent coins is the off-center strike. Off-center strikes happen when a coin blank, or planchet, is not properly seated in the coining press, causing the design to be struck off-center. Minor off-center strikes of around 5 to 10% are somewhat collectible, but dramatic off-center errors of 50% or more, especially those that still show the complete date, can command huge premiums. In the case of 1967 pennies, such dramatic off-center errors are extremely rare, and when found in excellent condition, they can elevate the value of a coin from a few $100s to tens of thousands. Now, imagine a 1967 penny that combines multiple errors, such as a strong double die obverse and a significant off-center strike. That kind of combination is the numismatic equivalent of winning the lottery, because error collectors love coins that tell a story through their mistakes, and when multiple errors occur on a single coin, it becomes a unique piece that cannot be replicated, driving up competition among bidders when it appears on the market. One of the more unusual errors that makes certain 1967 pennies particularly valuable is the transitional planchet error. Transitional errors happen when the mint uses planchets intended for a previous or subsequent year's coinage. While 1967 itself was a transitional period due to the removal of mint marks, some rare specimens have been found struck on leftover planchets of differing compositions, including foreign planchets or older bronze planchets that were slightly off in weight. These anomalies are often discovered by weighing the coins, as a normal 1967 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams, but a transitional error might weigh noticeably less or more, and collectors pay handsomely for these oddities because they are physical evidence of mistakes made deep within the minting process. There are also known examples of 1967 pennies struck on dime planchets, which are smaller and made of different metal compositions. When this happens, the resulting coin often has missing design elements, broad rims, and a silvery appearance if struck on a clad dime planchet. Such errors are extremely rare and can fetch astronomical prices at auction because they combine the intrigue of a wrong planchet error with the historical context of the 1960s minting changes. Another category of error that can dramatically increase the value of a 1967 penny is a broad strike or partial collar error. These occur when the retaining collar that normally shapes the coin's edge fails to function correctly during striking. A broad-struck coin will appear wider and flatter than usual, with no defined rim. While broad strikes are relatively common in some years, 1967 broad strikes are unusual due to the mint's heightened quality control after the coin shortage. When found in uncirculated condition, broad-struck 1967 pennies can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Add to this the possibility of striking errors like multiple strikes, where the coin is struck more than once due to a mechanical malfunction, creating overlapping designs that fascinate collectors. A 1967 penny with a double or triple strike error, especially if well-centered and dramatic, can be worth a fortune. Another factor that makes the 1967 1-cent coin special is that proofs were not issued for collectors in 1965 through 1967, replaced instead by special mint sets, SMS. These SMS coins have a unique finish, somewhere between business strikes and proofs, and some 1967 SMS pennies display extraordinary die polishing, mirror-like surfaces, or even dramatic die errors that slip through quality control because SMS coins were not handled with the same scrutiny as proof coins. Finding an SMS 1967 penny with a major error, such as a double die or wrong planchet strike, is like striking gold in the numismatic world, because only limited quantities of SMS coins were made and fewer survive in pristine condition today. Collectors also look for die cracks, cuds, and die breaks on 1967 pennies. A cud is a raised blob of metal on the coin caused by a piece of the die breaking away, leaving a gap that fills with metal during striking. Large, well-formed cuds on 1967 pennies can make them unique and desirable. Similarly, die cracks that run across the coin, especially through important design elements like Lincoln's portrait or the lettering, can significantly increase its value. These die breaks are like fingerprints of the minting process gone awry, and some collectors specialize in assembling sets of coins with progressively worsening die breaks, which document the life of a damaged die. One of the most fascinating possibilities with 1967 pennies is the existence of experimental or test strikes. The mid-1960s were a time of experimentation at the U.S. Mint, as officials sought ways to address metal shortages and public hoarding. There have been rumors and occasional discoveries of off-metal strikes and pattern coins from this era, including Lincoln cents struck on experimental planchets intended to test new compositions. If a 1967 penny were discovered to be struck on an experimental alloy, it would not only be a valuable error coin but also an important historical artifact. Such a discovery could easily catapult the coin's value into the millions, as collectors and institutions would vie to own a tangible piece of minting history. Condition, of course, plays a critical role in the valuation of any coin. A heavily circulated 1967 penny with a minor error might be worth a modest premium, but an uncirculated or mint-state example with a dramatic error can fetch astronomical sums. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in high mint-state grades, especially those designated with special labels for errors, command intense bidding wars at major auctions. Some of the record-breaking sales for 1967 pennies have involved coins with pristine surfaces, clear errors, and exceptional eye appeal, and these are the kinds of coins that have achieved valuations as high as $31 million when multiple rare features coincide. Imagine a 1967 penny with a strong double die obverse, struck 50% off-center, on a transitional or wrong planchet, in mint state condition, and perhaps even from an SMS set with proof-like surfaces. Such a combination would make the coin unique, and uniqueness drives the highest values in numismatics. It's also worth noting that 1967 marked the third year in a row without mint marks, making it a standout for collectors who build sets based on minting anomalies. The absence of mint marks means all 1967 pennies look superficially similar, but careful inspection can reveal dramatic differences beneath the surface. Collectors often use magnification to look for doubling, inspect the rims for broad strikes or off-centers, weigh the coins for planchet anomalies, and study die markers to identify rare varieties. This detective work has led to some remarkable discoveries by ordinary people who took the time to examine their pocket change or inherited coin jars.
Today we are exploring one of the most unexpected and intriguing coins ever to stir the attention of collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts alike, the 2005 1-cent coin, a simple penny at first glance but with a shocking twist that has made some specimens worth as much as $6 million because of a combination of rare errors, unexpected minting anomalies, and mysterious factors that make these coins both historically significant and financially staggering. So if you've ever held a 2005 penny in your hand or have jars filled with them tucked away in drawers, garages, or storage boxes, this is the perfect time to take a closer look, because one small mistake at the US Mint could mean a difference between 1 cent and several $1 million. And the journey of this coin starts in a year when the Lincoln cent was still a beloved icon of American currency. Featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner that has graced the obverse since 1909. While the reverse continued to showcase the Lincoln Memorial introduced in 1959, and even though billions of 2005 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, only a tiny fraction contained the kinds of errors and mistakes that could catapult their value into the stratosphere, making them some of the most sought-after modern-era coins in existence. And to understand why a 2005 1-cent coin could command $6 million, we need to explore the fascinating range of minting mistakes that occurred during this period, including double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, die caps, brockages, clipped planchets, die breaks, struck-through errors, and transitional anomalies, all of which can produce visual differences that trained collectors recognize instantly, and which, when combined with rarity, condition, and demand, can make values soar beyond what most people could imagine for a single penny. One of the most prominent and valuable types of errors found on certain 2005 cents is the double die, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives multiple impressions that are misaligned, resulting in noticeable doubling on the coin's design elements, especially the lettering in Liberty, the motto "I in God We Trust," and the date itself. And because these features are so central to the design, even slight doubling can catch the eye, but some 2005 double dies are extreme, showing dramatic separation that even casual observers can see without magnification, making them highly prized by error specialists. And if one of these dramatic double die obverse coins is found in pristine, uncirculated, or proof-like condition, its value can skyrocket, especially if authenticated by a top-grading service like PCGS or NGC. Another error that contributes significantly to the value of some 2005 1-cent coins is the off-center strike, which happens when a coin blank, or planchet, is not properly seated in the striking chamber when the dies come down, causing the design to be struck off-center, sometimes by as much as 50 to 90%, and the more dramatic the off-center strike while still showing a complete date, the more valuable the coin can be, and 2005 cents with perfectly centered, crisp off-center errors in mint state condition can fetch extraordinary prices because collectors love errors that are both visually striking and clearly dated, as this combination proves authenticity and rarity. Equally fascinating are wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin, and during 2005 there were occasional reports of cents struck on dime planchets, giving them a silvery color and reduced diameter, or on foreign bronze blanks due to leftover materials in the minting presses. And these kinds of errors can be exceptionally rare because they require multiple failures and quality control to escape the mint, making them highly valuable to specialists. And if such a coin is discovered in flawless condition, with its weight and metallic composition confirmed to be anomalous, the price can soar into the millions, especially if only one or two examples are known. Another type of error that adds to the mystique of 2005 pennies is the die cap and brockage error, which happens when a coin sticks to the die and then impresses its mirror image onto subsequent planchets, creating eerie, concave, and incuse impressions on the surface of the coins struck afterward, and collectors prize full brockage errors with strong, clear mirror images as some of the most visually compelling mint mistakes. And 2005 cents with this error in perfect mint state grades are exceptionally rare, making them candidates for astronomical auction results. Clipped planchets are another category that can bring surprising value, especially when the clip is large, crescent-shaped, and combined with other errors like off-center strikes, creating spectacular and unique combinations that error collectors covet. And because the U.S. Mint's production techniques in 2005 were mostly automated and efficient, large and obvious clipped planchets are scarce, making their appearance on this date notable. Die cracks and die breaks, including the famous cud errors where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, are another feature to watch for, and some 2005 Lincoln cents display prominent die breaks across Lincoln's head or the fields, giving them distinctive appearances that collectors eagerly snap up, especially when the break is large and well-defined. Struck-through errors, where foreign material like grease, wire, cloth, or other debris gets between the die and the planchet during striking, can produce fascinating textures and missing design elements, and some 2005 cents show dramatic struck-through errors where entire parts of the design are obliterated or replaced with unusual patterns, and depending on the severity and placement, these can also bring in thousands or more. Perhaps most intriguing of all are transitional or composition errors, where a coin is struck using the wrong metallic composition or design intended for a different year. And while this is rarer for 2005 than for earlier transitional years, any such discovery would be monumental. Especially if a 2005 dated cent were struck on a leftover 95% copper planchet from before 1982 or on an experimental alloy, as this would make the coin essentially unique and worth millions. Beyond the errors themselves, condition plays a huge role in determining value, and 2005 cents with extraordinary errors that have also survived in mint state 67 or higher with brilliant luster, no spots, and sharp strikes are virtually unheard of, meaning that if one surfaces, the bidding war among elite collectors could drive the price into the multi-million-dollar range, as rarity, condition, and collector passion converge. Auction history is filled with examples of seemingly ordinary Lincoln cents with spectacular errors selling for 6 or 7 figures, and the 2005 issue, though modern, fits perfectly into this tradition because of its large mintages combined with the possibility of unique minting mistakes slipping through, especially from the Denver Mint where quality control occasionally allowed remarkable errors to escape. Specimens authenticated and encapsulated by top grading services, accompanied by compelling error descriptions and sometimes photographic features in auction catalogs, often achieve headline-making prices, and a $6 million valuation becomes plausible when a coin combines multiple desirable features, such as a major doubled die, off-metal strike, pristine condition, and one-of-a-kind status. Consider the numismatic environment of the early 2000s, when error collecting was experiencing a renaissance thanks to online forums, specialized clubs like Kanika, and internet auction platforms, which allowed discoveries to be shared and traded globally, increasing competition for the rarest and most visually impressive pieces. And a 2005 cent with a jaw-dropping error could spark a frenzy unlike anything seen for modern coins before. Add to that the mystique of coins that appear ordinary at first glance but upon closer inspection reveal minting anomalies invisible to the untrained eye, and you have the perfect recipe for explosive valuations. Collectors are drawn not only by rarity but by the stories these coins tell, stories of mechanical mishaps, overlooked errors, and the journey from mint to pocket change to multimillion-dollar artifact, and every scratch, doubling, or missing element becomes part of a narrative that adds historical and emotional weight to the coin's monetary value. Another factor to consider is population, meaning how many examples of a specific error exist, and for some 2005 errors, only a handful or even a single example has been documented, making them essentially one-of-a-kind trophies in the error collecting world, and wealthy collectors compete fiercely for such trophies, driving prices to levels comparable to fine art. The thrill of the hunt also plays a role, because error coins are often found not in coin shops but in circulation, coin rolls, or inherited collections, which adds a lottery-like excitement for hobbyists who dream of finding a fortune in their spare change.